Stampers, this is Dawn from DawnStippingThoughts.net, and today we're going to make a really fun card called the Double Gatefold. And this is my version. I used the Coffee Break designer paper. Let me show you another one I made. Now this one is using the Foil Frenzy designer paper. Isn't it beautiful? So let me show you how it opens. So let's start with the Foil Frenzy. So you slide the belly band off, and then this is your first gatefold. Then you have another gatefold, which is in the center, and you open that up, and then you got your secret message in there. Isn't that cute? Okay, so let's put the belly band on this one. I'll show you the coffee one. So here's the front, and then sliding the belly band off, open it up, and then you open up the double gatefold. Isn't that cute? So this is the one we're going to make today. I'm going to actually show you how to make the card. And I pre-cut all the coffee cups and all that just to save some time. So if you stay to the end, we're going to make an envelope for this card as well, because it's a little bit bigger than your standard size card. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here is the Coffee Break designer paper. And you're going to cut your 12 by 12 down to 10 5/8 by 10 5/8. And then you're going to keep both of these pieces. We're going to use this one, the longer one, for the belly band. And then this one we're going to add to the inside part of the card. And then for the inside of the card, I'm using the Early Espresso, and this is cut at 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. And then a piece of Whisper White, which is cut at 4 1/2 by 4 1/2. Okay, so first we're going to start with your larger piece here to make our card. And what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead, now I'm flipping this over, so I want this side to show out more than the other side, okay? So I'm going to flip that side over, and I'm going to fold it point to point. And then open it up, and then you're going to refold it the opposite way. And now we're going to grab our Stampin' Trimmer. Crease it a little bit better with my bone folder. Okay, so you're going to take your flat edge, and you're going to line this up at 5 inches. Right about there. And then you're going to score. Okay, and using the designer paper, I find that the score line does transfer through both of the layers, but you could also just flip it over and rescore it if you want. So we're going to open it up, and then we're going to fold it the other way. Once again, I'm going to burnish this score line here. Okay, so take the flat edge again, and we're going to do it once again at 5 inches, and then score. All right, now we're going to go ahead and fold back our points that we just scored at 5 inches. Okay, so now it should look like that. Now we're going to fold these points in to this center line right here. So we're going to meet them right up in the center. I can get this folded here. There we go. And just line up that point of the triangle in the center, and then you're going to fold that down. I'm going to take my bone folder, reinforce those score lines. Okay, so now this side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to fold those points back. So now it should look like that. Now we're going to fold this panel over and this panel over. And we're going to line that up in the center, butting them up together, just like that. And then fold that down. And that's your double gatefold. So you have the front, then you open it, and then you open it again right here. Okay? So now it's just a matter of decorating your card. So I have all those pieces already made. So I have those items here. Let me show you what I used. So this is the Coffee Cafe stamp set. And then it also coordinates with the coffee cups framelits. Looks like that. And once again, you can buy them together and save 10% in the bundle. And then for the layering of the ovals, here, I use the Soft Sky, Early Espresso, and the Crumb Cake. And I used the layering ovals for that. I used these 3 sizes right here. Okay, and then for the greeting for the inside, life happens, coffee helps, I punched that out with the 1 3/4 inch circle punch, and then I used the layering circles to punch out the soft sky layer behind that. Okay, and then for my little shorty cup, I used the corrugated elements for the little tiny heart, and then I added the linen thread on both of them, and then with the little basic rhinestone on that one. So those are the items that I used on this. Now it's just a matter of decorating it. So let's bring in our centerpiece. We're going to layer these 2 together. Okay. So then for the center part, I'm putting this greeting here, right in the center of that triangle, but I'm only going to put adhesive on the back side on the upper part. Let me grab my fast fuse. Because remember, this section opens up. So we just want to adhere the top, or you could adhere just the bottom. Either one, you just want to do one or the other, not both, so it opens up like that. Then for the front, I'm going to add the belly band and then add my little cup to that. So let's grab that piece. There's going to be 2 strips, and I'm adding the larger strip or the longer strip to the front. And the belly band is just going to keep the card closed. Remember, this slides off, so you don't want it too tight. Right about there looks good. I'm going to press that into place. And then I'm going to adhere it down with some fast fuse. Okay, and then the little section that overlaps there is going to be hidden by my coffee cup on the front. So I'm going to put some dimensionals on the belly band section. Put that right in the center there. Then this is going to sit right on the front. So then the coffee cup gets slidden off with the belly band. Okay, now this piece we're going to add to the center part of this layer. So let me grab my paper trimmer. Okay, so we're going to cut this down to 4.5 inches long, because that's the size of my Whisper White piece right here. So I'm going to add that to the center. I'm going to go ahead and add adhesive. Just like that. Then I have my last coffee cup and my little greeting here. Put my greeting right here. And then my coffee cup I got on dimensionals. That's going to go right here. Isn't it cute? Now this gets put on the inside of the card. Isn't that cute? So it closes up like that. Let me get my belly band. Okay, so the finished size of this card is 5 by 5. So I made the envelope 5.5 by 5.5 just because it's a little thick. And depending if you use cardstock, it will be even thicker. And then the way you decorate your card, it might be even thicker. So I just thought the bigger envelope would be better. So if you want a 5 by 5, I'll give you the measurement of that envelope. But we're going to make the 5.5 by 5.5 size envelope. Now let me give you the items that I used for the Foil Frenzy one. So for the front, I used this stamp set called All Things Thanks. And I used Thanks for Everything right here. And I used the Berry Burst ink, and then I also added the Dazzling Diamonds with the fine tip glue pen on the thanks. And then for the inside, You Dazzle Me, I used the Pocket Full of Sunshine. Right here is the You Dazzle Me. And then for the inside here, I used the You Are Amazing, and that's also from the All Things Thanks stamp set right here. Okay, so then I used the Berry Burst cardstock. Now this one is actually thicker than this one just because the Foil Frenzy designer paper is a little bit thicker. Okay, but so cute. All right, now let's go ahead and make the envelope. Okay, so I went ahead already and made the Berry Burst envelope for this card. And like I said, it's the 5.5 by 5.5, and it fits perfectly for this type of card. And it just folds over, and then you can mail that. But it is awfully thick, so you're going to be paying extra postage for that. But sometimes it's worth it. All right, so I'm going to be using the Coffee Break designer paper for this one. And this paper is cut at 9 by 9, and we're going to grab our envelope punch board. Okay, so here's the envelope punch board. Let me get my folder here. All right, so on the punch board, there's a 5 by 5 size. And your cardstock will be cut at 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. All right, but we're making the 5.5 by 5.5 inch side, and that's 9 by 9, which I have right here. And then our first score line is at 4.5. So remember with the punch board, I've done many videos on this punch board, but the only time we're going to use this measurement along the top of your envelope punch board is the first punch and the first score line. So we're going to line this up at 4.5 right here. Okay, and we're going to punch, and then you're going to score. Okay, then you're going to ignore this measurement up here. We're just going to follow the paper with the score line. So we're going to turn it. We're going to take that score line we just made, and we're going to line it up with the punch board right here on this little tail. So we're going to punch and then score, turn, and we're also going to follow that score line. So that's the only thing we're going to do now. So line that up, punch, and score. Okay, so that's your envelope. So it's just a matter of folding the score lines. Okay, let's move the punch board. All right, now we're going to go ahead and add some fast fuse just on the edge. And the point. Fold those in, and then you're going to fold that up. You could also tape that once the card's inside. Then we're going to take our card that we just made, and then that fits inside the envelope perfect. See, it's a little big, but it's allowing more space for the bulkiness of the card. But how cute! So there's the matching envelope for this card. Okay, and then here's the other one. And then here's the Foil Frenzy designer paper with the envelope as well. Okay, so I'll have all the items listed below for easy shopping. And then also subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss any future videos. Okay, thanks for stopping by. We'll see you later. Bye.